Good morning, Dale and Micaela.
Morning po.
Morning. I think Gillian will not attend due to his ano no. I think her grandfather ba 'yon, passed away. So we could just express our sympathies to the family of Gillian. But anyway, we will continue. Welcome to our week 9. I hope you just continue reading on the labs as we have a review or recap of complex analysis. I think this is also important in linear systems, no, where most of the time we could uh, we could encounter complex numbers within matrices and linear systems. Okay, Dale, are you there, Dale?
Yes sir, nasa kalsada lang po.
Ganun. Oh, ginagawa mo diyan. Mag-ano ka muna, stay ka muna sa ano, sa isang lugar diyan.
Eh sir, pauwi lang po, galing po sa isang church natin dito. Sa Cordon po sir, pauwi pa lang, nagda-drive lang po, palapit na po.
Nagda-drive. Your ano. Oh, sige, sige. Anyway, sige, you just listen, no. Okay, let's open in a word of prayer. Father in heaven, we thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity for this week 9 in our linear algebra, MAT122. I pray for your mercies and grace to us, and also comfort to the family of Gillian for the passing of her grandpa. I pray for the family, for the bereaved family, as well as the church, that indeed, Lord, uh, it's only by your hands that our life will be entrusted from birth to death. And I pray by your mercy and grace that we will continue to serve you and to promote the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ, even at this particular time of our life, even at this occasion where there are bereaved loved ones and friends, but it's an occasion for the gospel to be preached also to the relatives and for friends that will be attending the wake or the funeral service. I also pray for Dale who's now on the road. May your safekeeping mercies be upon them as they go home. Naingatan sila, Panginoon. At sa amin pong pag-aaral ngayon, dalangin ko ang papalag, biyaya na malagana sa bawat isa. Sa pangalan ng Panginoong Kristo, itong aming samot dalangin. Amen. Okay. Oh, how about Acel? Is Acel busy? Micaela?
Ay, sir, wala po akong update, sir.
Okay. Anyway,
Sa kanya po.
so week 9, no? So primarily we'll focus on I thought of introducing complex because this is essential for linear and other mathematics major courses as well, no? So nung tinanong ko na wala kayong complex analysis na subject, so maybe it's also good for us to introduce, no? So let's have a recap of this, no? Then later on, second half of our lecture will be going to go to some of the lab. Doon muna tayo sa lab. Okay. Is my audio clear? Clear na for you?
Yes po, sir.
Okay lang, okay lang. Ang problema ko 'pag ina-upload ko sa YouTube, mahina, 'no? Hindi ko sure kung bakit gano'n, eh. Siguro yung dating sa inyo kasi I'm using the same camera for recording purposes as well as this Google Meet. So, isang camera lang siya. So, hindi ko sure bakit sa recording medyo mahina siya. Okay, we're on the operation of complex numbers, no? So So we recall the form. So we have what we call the rectangular form of complex number as a matter of review. So you have z is equal to a plus bi. Okay, so that's the rectangular form, no? We already make some manipulations. Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's the for instance, we have 2 plus 4i, or if you're an engineering student, you may want to express this in terms of it's a j form, 3 plus j4. So either way are ano no are okay. Okay, so where did you base your I or J? So as we review, just a quick review, no. This is actually the square root of -1, where we get the idea of imaginary number. Because primarily when you there are only two ways where you could do this, no. If you square both positive number, say 3. Okay, 3 squared. Obviously the answer is 9. How about -3 squared? This is also equal to 9. So there's no way that the square of an particular item will be negative, right? There's no way that when you square a number, it will be negative. Tama ba, Micaela? Based on these two examples. Either you square a positive number, it becomes positive
Yes po.
9. Yes. If you square a -3 or any negative number, it will become positive number also. So the dilemma is how could a square of a number become negative? So the idea of imaginary number, uh, for this case, the idea of the imaginary numbers came in. If you have 3i squared, this is equal to -9. So that's the concept of there's this development of imaginary numbers in terms of the root of a negative number. Okay? So doon ang nagsimula yan. Kasi nga naman, there's no way that a square of a number would be negative. Whereas we encounter in our quadratic formula the possibility of having a negative number, no? Ano nga uli yung ano? Dale, are you there? Can you tell me the quadratic formula if you could recite?
Yes, sir. Quadratic formula, sir. Yung po ba yung ax squared plus bx is equal to c? Yung po ba yun?
Hindi, yun yung equation, formula. Formula x, solving for x starts with -b. Alala pa ba?
Negative b, positive negative the square root of... Yung po ba, tama po ba yun?
Tama. Sige, sige. Square root of what?
Yes, sir. Negative b, positive negative the square root of negative b square minus 4ac over 2a po ba?
2a. Okay, yung b squared, hindi negative yon, positive yon. Tama yung, pero tama naman yung nabanggit mo. Okay, so yun lang, hirapan lang mag-type dito eh. Sige nga, gamitan ko nga ng mathematical editor. Sayang yung aking isang software, nag-crash eh. Hindi siya compatible dito sa sa Windows, no? Siguro maghahanap uli ako ng, sa totoo lang, actually pwede naman na magsulat, kaya lang, eto may aminin ako guys ha, hindi ako maganda magsulat. Normally may penmanship in steno. I used to, whenever there are lectures, I used to shorthand the professor's lectures. And there are time that the professor required us to pass our notes. Okay? Then lo and behold, the professor cannot understand my notes because it's all in shorthand, in steno. So yun. So actually hindi talaga, actually
Okay lang
siguro,
po yan, sir. Naintindihan po kayo ni Day.
oo. Actually I was a third year college student there. One of our professional course which we call engineering mechanics. Yun, no, nagpapasa siya, kamot siya ng ulo. Teka, ayoko na nitong notes mo, babalik ko na sa'yo. Sir, anong grade ko? Hindi, okay lang yan. At least may notes ka. So, hindi niya na, ano, no? Yun yung, oh, Acel. How are you, Acel? Okay lang ba? I hope you're fine, no?
Opo.
Okay lang. Oh, sige.
Yes.
Sige, welcome to our class. Unfortunately, Gillian cannot come because of the death of his grandfather. Sunod-sunod, grabe, no? Pastor Ballega, have you heard, guys? Dr. Abraham Ballega of Blue Ridge Bible Baptist Church. Have you heard?
Hindi ko po siya kilala, sir.
Okay. Actually, ano he's close to,
Best friend ni BMA, sir.
yeah, he's close to Blue Ridge churches, no? So in Quezon City, he's he's a he's a friend of Dr. Benny Abante and other pastors. Bible mode. He's active in Bible mode. Yon. Also passes away. You know what? Dumalaw pa siya sa wake ni Pastor Randy. Yun na pala yung huli naming pagkikita ni Pastor Abe Ballega. So talaga nga naman ang buhay, guys, no? So a few weeks after lang, no? Or siguro less than a month, February, less than a month nga lang. Yun na pala yung pumunta siya Pumunta siya sa, I think, day 1 or day 2 of the memorial service of Pastor Randy. Because they are good friends also when they're young. Ayun. All suddenly, nabalitaan namin last week, sinugod sa hospital. Then I think aneurysm. I don't know, no, but that's what I heard from the daughter. One of the Facebook posts of the daughter. Talagang buhay, no? Kaya kailangan, guys. Kaya nga tayong mga preacher, Dale, no? We preach as if this is our last day.
Tama po.
We preach. For Our Lady minister, you teach your Sunday school or your minister as if this is your last day. Because we cannot, meaning you give your best every time. You give though our best is not enough, but in terms of faithfulness, in terms of our commitment to the Lord, so we give our best because it is as if this is your last day. And the people could sense that, the urgency, because every day is one day less of the coming of the Lord Jesus Christ. Remember that. Though we don't know the exact date, either you die before the coming of the Lord, or you will witness the rapture of the church. So yun, no? So anyway, these are sudden news, no? And other pastors that I have not known personally, no? Yun lang, si Pastor Baliega. So, nakakalungkot din. Kasi naging part din siya ng church. Family, friends siya ni Pastor Randy. Saka I know some of his preachers had become my Bible school classmates. Yan, somewhere in Antipolo. There are pastors there that had been my classmates who came from the ministry of Pastor Abraham Baliega. Okay? So yun, no? These are sad news, but still happy news because we know that the saints of the Lord brings glory to the Lord Jesus Christ, God. Okay, let's continue. No? So there's this dilemma. That's why in mathematics, there's dilemma. How could you fit in to a negative square? No? If negative, when positive number is squared, that becomes 9, or positive number, or negative 3 squared is also positive. So there you go. The imaginary numbers came in. And one of the proponent, I think, no, of this is Euler or Euler, if you may pronounce it, no, Johannes or John Euler or Johannes Euler, who is a mathematician who was able to connect the constants beautifully in his Euler's formula. Do you know Euler's formula? Or later I will tell you, no, if I have time. The Euler's formula. These are beautifully made, connecting all of the fundamental constants and operations in one formula. Okay? So you could Google that. Johannes Euler or John Euler. You have not seen that. Siguro maybe later. Okay, as we continue. No? Okay. So, ano nga ba yung ito yung rinicite ni Dale kanina, yung ano, yung quadratic formula. That Dale, the quadratic equation is the one previously mentioned. Ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. That's the quadratic equation. But when you say formula, is referred to the solution of the quadratic equation. Hindi ko alam kung merong ano eh.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Medyo nagkalito po ako sa equation at formula.
Yung formula, yung ano, yung may square root. Yung equation, yung sinabi mo kanina. So, yun. Okay. So, yung buti na lang may plus and minus dito. Pwedeng mapalabas sa word to ng ito agad eh. I think I need to recalibrate my word eh. I could para yung isang click lang yung isang menu. Doon kasi sa isang software, yung Scientific Workplace, nandun na lahat sa menu. Isang click mo lang, lalabas na yon. Ito kasi you need to go to a specific menu eh. Buti na lang I created a shortcut. Dapat ito kabisado nyo guys ha. Walang math major na hindi kabisado ang ang quadratic formula. Micaela and Dale and Hazel, no? You should memorize this by heart.
Yes po.
Okay? Kasi nga, yun. Nakakahiya naman kung yung English major pa mag-recite nito. Palagay nyo. Diba? Tayong mga math major. Of course, you could memorize this by heart, no? By really, ayan. Tama ba, Dale, yung nasulat ko dito? This is the right formula?
Yes po.
Okay, so this is the quadratic. Now, the dilemma kasi, because the dilemma is that, what if b squared what your 4ac is greater than b squared? Okay, that's the dilemma eh. So, doon nagsimula yon yung development there must be a number that would fit here. No? So, yan. Isa rin yan sa ng develop ng concept ng imaginary. Because the dilemma of this ano nga ba guys tawag sa b squared minus 4ac? Nawala sa isip ko eh. May tawag sa kanya. That determines the nature of the quadratic equation. Recall your algebra. Of course, if b squared is equal or greater than, if is greater than, so anong implication nun? These are real and unequal solutions. Di ba sa quadratic, dalawa ang sagot? Tama ba, guys? Kasi nga quadratic, dalawa siya.
Discriminant po ba?
Yes, okay, tama yun, Dale. That's correct. Discriminant. Okay, yes. That's the right term. Di ko lang on the tip of my tongue, di ko malaman kung determinant o yun, discriminant. So, yung discriminant, kapag ang discriminant mo, minsan talaga dapat mag-recall din ako. Tama rin na nagtuturo ang mga math majors kasi nare-recall eh. Pag ang discriminant mo, yung is greater than 0, ibig sabihin niya real. Real yung nature ng equation. Real, however, unequal also. Meaning magkaiba. Nagets nyo na? Naalala nyo ba? Kapag d, yung discriminant mo is equal to 0, meaning yung b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0, it's real and equal. Meaning the same. Okay? Halimbawa, 3 and 3. Ganon. So, ibig sabihin, perfect square siya. So, ang implication nito, perfect square. Perfect square siya. Kaya, isa lang yung sagot, real and equal. However, the dilemma nga, ito, balik tayo dun sa what if the discriminant is equal to 0? Or greater than 0 rather. So, dito na pumapasok yung complex conjugates. Pag sinabi natin conjugate, it will vary based on this plus or minus. Can you see yung plus or minus? Kaya siya nagkaroon ng complex conjugate. The B1, negative
Yes
B
po.
is the real part over 2A, no? And then yung imaginary portion is entire B squared minus 4AC, which in case 4AC is greater than B squared, that's why your discriminant is less than 0. Yan, complex conjugate siya. So, pares siya ng plus or minus whatever the imaginary number is there inside this radicand. Okay? So, yan yon. Anyway, parang nagre-review na rin tayo, guys, no? Anyway, 2 years ago nyo pa natutunan to most of you. We're reviewing. In fact, this is also part of your advanced algebra, possibly. Okay? So, yung rectangular form natin, yan, no? So, then meron din tayong tinatawag na polar form. Teka. So, yun, rectangular form, no? We do make use of the rectangular in addition and subtraction operation. Subtract. We make use of the polar form for this. Say if you have z sub 1 is equal to a sub 1 plus b1i, and z sub 2 is equal to a sub 2 plus b sub 2i. Therefore, the sum z sub 1 plus c sub 2 is equal to, of course, the sum of the real part plus the sum of the imaginary component. For this case, b sub 1 plus b sub 2i. And this is also applied to subtraction operation. Okay? So, okay na tayo dito guys.
Yes po.
Okay. And then, next to this is your trigonometric form or polar form. Polar form muna. Okay, your polar form, z, which is equal to rectangularly, this could be expressed in terms of r bar. Teka, tingnan ko kung meron dito sa mathematical editor natin. I don't know if there will be a nearest symbol here. Yung parang ano, no? Yung angle. Yung symbol ng angle. Parang wala. Okay. So the nearest is the greater sign, no? So theta. So di ko mahanap yung angle symbol. There must be an angle symbol here. Okay. So that's our formula. Polar form. We know the Pythagorean relationship for R. Teka. I'll just show to you the relationship of the two. Okay, assuming that this is your argand plane. Para din siya guys ano sa Cartesian plane. The concept is similar to Cartesian plane. Okay, at any given point here, there are corresponding complex points or complex numbers where we could plot. For instance, say 3 or 2 plus 3i. Okay, you could easily plot that by counting 2 positive units from x-axis and 3 positive units from the y-axis, the positive one, and then the intersecting point, supposedly the point that would represent the complex number. So that's how we plot it. Okay, for instance, ito na rin sigurong kukunin ko. Liyan ko lang to. For instance, 2 units. So 1, say here, 2 units. Then you have 3 units from the x-axis. That represents 3i. So perhaps 1, 2, 3. Somewhere here, just an approximation. So yan yung intersection nila guys. That's the point, the complex number. Did you get it? That's the geometrical representation through the argand formula. Argand plane. Diba? Ano nga bang first name ni argand? Nung ginugel nyo? Remember you Google it? Did it mention what's the first name of argand? Or no?
Sir, check lang po ulit.
Ganun. Never mind. No. I'm just pop up in my mind. Now, paano yung relation niya dun sa complex sa polar form? Ito guys, relation niya sa polar form, ganito. Yung R, masosolve natin through the Pythagorean identity. Starting from the origin up to that point of intersection. Okay? And the acute angle or whatever angle from the x-axis on a counterclockwise direction. No? Yung counterclockwise direction natin. Jean Robert Argan. Thank you, Dale, for that information. So, si John din siya. Parang John din yun eh. Kasi French yung Jean. John. Pag pronounce mo yung Jean, John. Tama ba? Naririnig ko yun. Anong John? Anong Jean? John
Yes,
yan
sir.
eh.
Yes, sir.
Diba? John. Kasi parang French siya eh. May pagka-French, no? Argan. Anyway, thank you for that. Nag-gets ba, guys? So, eto na yung R. Yung from the origin down to that point of intersection, that will be your R. And then the angle that will be produced, that would be your theta. Diba? Similar to your algebra. Or if you have analytic geometry. Do you have analytic geometry, guys? Or just the plain and solid geometry?
Plain and solid lang po.
Walang analytic. Mas magandang analytic eh. Kasi yun kasi yung connecting point sa ano eh. Sa, sa talagang geometry, yung classical geometry, saka sa calculus. Kitang-kita yung ano niya eh. So ito yung guys, the R here would be the Pythagorean relationship of A squared plus B squared is equal to R squared. Tama? And the angle that will be produced, the acute angle, whether that be on the first quadrant, third quadrant, second, third, fourth quadrant, but our reference line is the x-axis, the positive component, no, towards counterclockwise direction. Okay, so because it could be as high as 359 degrees, point something, no, before it becomes a perigon or one complete revolution, no. So similar to your analytic geometry or even in your algebra, no, on its rotation. Okay, so that's how we derive these two, no.
Sir, question po.
Yes, go ahead.
So, ano po ulit tawag dun sa intersecting point po? Nung sa... Yung nag-draw po kayo nung dalawang straight lines.
That's the
May
point.
tawag po ba dun, sir?
That's the wala naman pero that point represents the complex number 3 plus 2 plus 3i. Yan na mismo yung 2 plus 3i.
Okay po.
That's the point representing the complex number 2 plus 3i on an Argand plane. But this is not true in Cartesian. Diba? Hindi totoo yan sa Cartesian. Totoo
Tama
yan
po.
sa Argand plane. Okay, may kaibahan kasi ang interpretation doon eh. Doon merely coordinates, di ba? They're just coordinates there, 2 and 3 at a particular point. Pag Cartesian plane, pero pag Argand plane, that represents the complex. Okay? Could represent complex. Okay? So magkaiba siya. Now, so your R squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. Okay, you just extract the root of both sides of the equation. That would be the answer. Now, for theta, okay, for theta is the tangent. Yan yung pumasok. Actually, it's the arc tangent. Okay, arc tangent siya. Yan, arc tangent function, no? of B over E. Okay, so that's how will you produce. For instance, if you have say 1 plus I, will somebody tell me the polar form for this? Mentally? Can you solve it mentally? O Dale, can you give me the polar equivalent?
Not sure to answer, sir.
Not sure.
Medyo
Pero,
nalilito po.
what's your R? You could solve mentally what's R. Anong R? Dalawa lang naman yung solve mo dyan, yung R, saka yung theta. Any guess? How about our ladies here? Acel, what's R? Huwag mo na i-calculate yan. Napakababang number yan para i-calculate. Just think. What's R? 1 squared plus 1 squared is 2. Extract the root. It's supposedly square root of 2. Right? That's your R. Par, what's R tangent 1 over 1? Special yan eh. Special angle yan. Guys,
Sir, yun po ba yung ano? Yung may pi? 3 pi?
pwedeng may pi, pwedeng wala. Kasi pag
Over
polar
4?
naman, pwedeng degree ang ano niya. Hindi na radiant measurement. Magkakaroon lang ng pi pag may radiant measurement tayo. Mamaya pa yon sa exponential form. Pero dito, okay lang ang degree. It's 45 degrees, guys. Square root of 2 par 45 degrees.
Sir, pwede po nalito po ako sir sa saan po ulit nakuha yung R po.
Yung R, ito yung R.
Nakalimutan ko.
Ito, yung formula. Kaya pinakita natin yung
Yung form.
Pythagorean relationship yan eh. So ito yung A mo, which is 2. Ito yung taas, yan yung B mo, which is 3. O yan, get Pythagorean relationship. Dito for 2 plus 3i. Pero ang given ko 1 plus 1. 1 plus i. So it's just square root of 2. Okay? Do I make sense? Par 45 degrees.
Sir, yung po sa plus B squared. So yung B squared po,
Hindi niya kasama yung
kasi
imaginary.
coefficient po ng I is 1.
Yes. Yung the coefficient of i. You don't include i. So it's just the real part. I would say real part. Pero,
Okay.
yeah. Hindi ko alam kung makikita sa camera eh. Hindi ko alam kung kita. Ayan guys. Malabo lang, no? 1 plus I is equal to square root of 2 par 45 degrees. Medyo malabo lang, no? Nakuha nyo? Kita nyo?
Kita na po. So saan po galing square root po ng 2 po?
Sa a squared plus b squared.
Yes. 1 plus 1 is 2, square root of 2. Ay, teka, nasaan na yun? Naligaw. Yun. Kaliwete kasi itong camera ko eh. Ayan, di ba? And then, arctangent of 1 over 1 is 45 degrees. Kaya par 45 degrees. Okay? Okay, you have question?
Gawa siya sa R squared.
Another example. Mahirap magbigay ng ano eh. Sige. Ng example na merong appropriate. Ito, medyo obvious to. Ayan. So, tingin natin. They call it C sub 1. Okay. Another complex number, square root of 3 over 2 plus 1 half I. Okay? Can you solve for the polar form? Can you do it mentally also? Kung master nyo, kung minahal nyo ang trigo nyo, malalaman yan. Kasi ang bottleneck lang naman do sa arctangent, guys eh. Tama ba? If you don't know the special properties of special numbers, mahirapan ka dyan eh. Oh. Sige, kindly solve this. G sub 2 is equal to square root of 3 over 2 plus 1 half I. Or I over 2.
Sir, hindi ko po kayang mental.
Sige. Hindi ba kaya?
Sir,
Sige.
ano po,
Sige.
hindi po ba yung, okay po. Yung square root po, 3 over 2, ano po siya, 1.5 plus 30 degree po.
Square root of
Kasi
3.
hindi
Square
po.
root of 3 yan. Hindi square root of 3 halves ha. Square root of 3 over 2.
Ah,
So magkaiba yon.
okay po, edi 1 po.
Yung squared nila?
1 plus 30 degree. 30 degree
Par.
po.
Sige.
Opo.
Sige. Your R is equal to 1. Sige, ano yung par? Anong degree yung par?
Ano po, 30 degree po.
30
Kasi
degrees.
0.5 po.
Tama.
Radians po ay 5 over 3.
Tama. Pag 1 ang R mo, you don't need to write. Par na lang. Par 30 degrees. Ang pangit ng angle eh. Wala ba dito yung pwedeng insert yung ano? Asan na yun? Hindi ko guys makita yung angle symbol eh. Sa Word nyo ba may ganon? Medyo misleading yung symbol na na greater than. Asan ba yun? Tuloy, nabubuking na tuloy itong Microsoft Office. Dali ah. Wala talaga siya eh, no? Hindi ko makita eh. Even on the symbols here, no? So, kaya operator?
Sir, par po, as in PAR?
Yes, par. PAR. Yung symbol na pinakita ko sa inyo kanina, yun yung appropriate way to write that. Pero yung nearest kasi ito ng greater than symbol or less than symbol eh. Tingin ko meron yan, hindi ko lang makita eh. Siguro sa symbols pa. Insert mathematical symbol.
Yes, minsan sir sa symbols ng plot.
Oo nga eh. Yun lang, naghang na si word natin. So it's 30 degrees, no? Ito, hanap ako dito. Siguro, ito, yan. Yan, no? Tagal kong hinahanap to. Yan yun eh. Itong symbol na to. So, uy, mailap ah. Mailap siya. Symbol lang naman to. Ayaw, mailap ah. Kasi nasa loob siya na ng ano. Gusto niya ipasok sa loob ng mathematical operator. Yan. So, if R is equal to 1, you don't need to write 1. So, you just ayan, put par 30 degrees. Okay? Another, sige. Hirap mag-isip ng special item eh. Ito. 1 plus square root of 3. Ay. Solve for the polar form. What's the polar form, guys? Can you solve this mentally also? Obvious naman yung R. What's
Yung
R?
ano po, yung R. 2.
Of course, R is equal to 2.
2 po.
1 squared plus square root of 3 squared is 3 plus 1 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2. And then, what's the theta?
2 po.
2 yung R. 2 par
60.
6.
square root of 3 over 1. What is R tangent square root of 3?
60 po, sir.
Yan, 60 degrees. Tama. Okay? Though, you may encounter problems that are not special angles. Okay? So, yan. Medyo mahirap yon. Ito, reverse engineering natin eh. Inisip muna natin ito bago yun. Bago to. Ito muna inisip mo yung sagot. Ano kayang magiging tanong ko pag ito ang sagot? Ayan. So, yan lang naman eh. Diyan naglalaro yan. 45 degrees. Palitan ko na nga rin tong 45 degrees na. So, ano ko na rin to. Sama ko na to square root of 2 na to. So, yun lang naman eh. It's either 30, 45, or 60. And then the quadrantal angles, 0, 90, 180, 270, 360, these are special naman. Obvious naman yun. Kapag 0 degrees, there is no imaginary component. Guys, tandaan yun. What if pag yung complex ay imaginary lang? Ano yung par niya? Guys, ano yung magiging angle niya? Yan, square root of 3 over 2. Ano? So, magandang question yan. What if this is only, say, 5i? What's the polar form? This one, no calculator just mental computation. Obviously, your R is equal to B because there's no A component, right? Am I right? Your R is equal to B.
Yes po.
So how about your theta? So this is 5. 5 par. Dale, what's your answer? What's the theta, guys? Paano, sir?
Sir,
Infinite?
di ba siya mag-error?
Oo nga. Kaya nga, wag dapat i-calculator eh. Dapat mag-isip lang eh. Hindi talaga kayang solve ng calculator yan, guys. Pero tayo, kaya nating solve yan.
Ano po?
Ha?
Sir, try lang.
Sige.
Try lang po.
Sige. Yes.
Ano po? 90 po. Kasi pag ilalagay niyo po sa complex plane po ba yun? Kasi
Yes.
5 lang naman po eh. Naka 90 degree po siya.
Naka-vertical siya kasi 5i, di ba?
Tama po ba?
So tama, 90 degrees.
Apo.
That's correct. Tama yan. You don't need to compute that. Automatic, guys, pag imaginary component lang, 90. 90 yun eh. Pag walang imaginary, 0 yan. Ibig sabihin, hindi siya complex. Okay? Hindi complex yun kasi real part lang eh. Kapag may imaginary, kaya nga ito yung argument ko nung tinanong ko sa inyo, bakit yung 5i ay complex pa rin. Kasi nga, ang kanyang real component ay 0. Naalala niyo yun? Parang si Dale yata napilitan lang na yung girl's answer is
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
naalala niyo yun? Si Dale inudyukan ko lang si Dale eh. No, Dale. Nagdalawang isip pa si Dale diyan eh. It's still complex. What magiging complex real lang yan kapag nawala yung imaginary. Tatandaan natin. But 5i is still complex. Complex number pa rin siya. Though the real part is obviously equal to 0. Kasi you could plot it in a complex plane eh. Hangga't kaya mo siyang i-plot sa complex plane, pwede. In fact, yung real number, pwede mong i-plot sa complex plane. Nga lang, walang y component. No, par zero siya. Definitely, it's not considered complex. It's just real numbers. Okay. What if ganito? Say, 4, negative 4 I. Ayan. Give me the quick answer for this. Complex. Polar form rather.
Ano rin po, -4, tapos po yung tas 90 din po.
Negative 4, are you sure?
4 po, sir.
Siyempre, negative 4,
4?
i-square mo muna siya, di ba? Negative 4 squared,
Ay,
16. Saka
4,
mo
4,
i-extract yung root.
16.
Okay? Which is 4. Guys, sa pang, walang negative na R. R is always real. Ito. Ito guys, R is always real. Okay? Walang negative dyan. Pag naging negative yan, iba yung nandito siya. Wala siya dun sa point. No? So this one, it's positive 4. Oh, ano yung par natin? What would be the angle? Nawala pala si Dale, no?
270.
Correct, 270. Tama yan. Bakit 270? Kasi negative y component yan eh. So meaning the negative imaginary part lies in 270 degrees. If you will imagine the argand, so it's below 90 degrees. So it's 270. Okay? So yan yung natin. At marami pang iba kayong pwedeng i-develop dito na polar form. Now, aside from that, we could make use of the polar form for multiplication and division easily. Though in rectangular form, you could do that, but medyo mahirap. Katulad nung ginawa natin nung nakaraan, it's hard. So it's better for you to convert first your rectangular form to polar before doing any division or multiplication operation. So for instance, if you have R, pwede ko bang hiram to? Talagang ganun eh. Hindi mo pwedeng ilabas. Pati ayoko na dyan. Uy, bumabalik. Galing oh. So sa loob talaga. Sige, anyway. So R, par theta. Para malalagyan natin siya ng malalagyan ko siya ng subscript. Okay. Assuming this a given complex, no? Kopyahin ko na lang. Ba't R2 to? Okay. So that's C sub 1 defined by the polar equivalent. And another polar form. So say we call it Z sub 2. This is obviously R sub 2 par theta sub 2. Ano talaga. Yan. So what would be Z sub 1 times C sub 2 in terms of the polar form? So that's the next question. Napakadali lang ng sagot nito. So the model formula would be R1 R1, R2, par, you see, look what would happen here. Par, theta sub 1 plus theta sub 2. Yun lang. Tumiit ka. Walang nangyari dito. Yan. So guys, that would be the answer. So yung par dito, encompassing to theta sub 1 plus theta sub 2. Okay. For instance, okay, let's look at this. How about utilizing our example? What if I would like to multiply z sub 3 and z sub 4 here? C sub 3 and C sub 4. So what would be the answer? Plug in ko to. I'll copy first the... Okay, can you solve, guys? What would be the product?
Sir,
Hmm.
bali
Oh,
po 10. Ano po ba?
10 what?
Or magkahiwalay lang po sila.
Hindi, you get the sum of
10
the
power
angle.
150?
Yes, that's the product. Di ba napakadali? Kapag nakapolar ang isang complex number, napakadali niyang kunin yung product. So that would be... Okay, this would be 10 par 150 degrees. You just multiply the r value and add the theta. Okay, that's how we multiply in polar. Pero in our previous discussion, pinakita ko sa inyo how to expand complex numbers just like multiplying binomials. Okay, and that would be tedious. Okay, let's make an example on that. Okay, what if tinuloy ko to, minultiply ko si 1 square root of 3i in rectangular form, saka ko siya i-convert sa polar form. Okay, just to triangulate. Okay? Just to triangulate. Yung C sub 3 natin kanina, I will just triangulate, guys, and papakita ko sa inyo na pareho lang ang sagot. Pareho lang dapat ang sagot nito. 5i siya, 5. Okay. If I will get the product in a rectangular form this time, so though are equivalent, they are equivalent. Whatever, polar form or rectangular form of that complex number, they're the same. Magkaiba lang ng form. Okay. What if I would multiply? Okay? So, okay, multiplied by 5i. Okay, guys, do I making sense? I will try to prove, no? So this
Yes
becomes
po.
5i. Since I will distribute this, that becomes 5i plus. Okay, what would be the answer? 5 square root of 3 or minus. That becomes I times I. In the 3i and 5i, it's a minus. That becomes 5 square root of 3i. Or wala na yung I. Lumipat na yung I component doon sa unang term. Okay? So, yan. 5 square root of 3. Okay. Or if I would rewrite that, uunahin ko syempre itong 5 square root of 3. Negative nga lang. So, negative 5 square root of 3 plus 5i. Okay, guys? Copy ba? Kopya? Hindi pa ano
Opo.
yan. Then, after I solve for the product in rectangular form, saka ko siya i-convert ngayon sa polar form. Okay? So, we will convert to polar form. So, obviously, we could solve for r here. R squared. R squared mo, itong buong ito. So, it's negative squared. Okay? Plus 5 squared.
Ten po.
What's the answer? 10. Actually, hindi pa. 100 muna. Kasi extra ko pa siya. Tama ba?
Kaya po.
25. And then, pag in-square mo, 3 times 25, 75. 75 plus 25 is 100. Then, obviously, we extract the root of both sides of the equation. R is equal to, therefore, R is equal to 10.
10.
Okay, tama. And then, yung ating theta, paano yung theta niyan? So, that becomes 5 nahabol natin yung par 150, no? So, yung par 150 nasa second quadrant. No? Sige, let's, so yung theta, open. Okay. Theta is arctan. And what are those terms? Negative 5 of square root of 3 over 5. Okay, we cancel out. What would be your Okay, no? So, pwede pa natin simplify ito. What will be the simplified? Negative square root of 3 na lang. Guys, no? Tama ba? If we will simplify this, that would become negative square root of 3.
Sir, hindi po ba yung arctan po is B over A po?
Ay, oo nga, no? Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for, yes, yes, yes. Oo nga, nagkamali ako dito. Okay, okay. Mali. So, dapat dito yan. Yes, yes. Negative B over A, B over A.
Ay po.
Okay. Thank you. So, what would be? This, ano pala to? Reciprocal. So, okay. Pag inano ko siya, that becomes negative square root of 3 over 3. Shortcut ko na. Shortcut ko na lang. Kasi yan, that is 1 over square root of 3. Tama? Negative 1 over square root of 3. But we need to get rid of the radical of the denominator. Okay? By doing that, multiplying the conjugate of square root of 3. And what's the conjugate of square root of 3? That's also square root of 3. So, imagine multiplying square root of 3 in the numerator and denominator. What remains is square root of 3 on the numerator, and on the denominator is 3. Ano yung arctangent? Sige, calculator na. Could calculate. What is the formula? Of course, this is something, kasi kung square root of 3 yung x. You could
Ano
calculate, guys.
po, sir? Negative 30.
Negative 30. Kaya lang, nasa quadrant 2 tayo. Paano mo ipoproject yun? So, ang x natin negative.
Kung nasa
Ito yan eh. I-project natin. Ay, di ko alam yung kaliwa o kanan nyo dito eh. So, nandun ka sa ito yung 0, no? So, tingnan nyo yung ballpen ko. So, 30. Hindi siya negative 30 kasi yung negative 30, it's on the fourth quadrant. It must be something else. It could be a projection or a reflection. When you say projection, tatagos yung 30 degrees mo sa kabilang quadrant. Possible yon. Sige nga, yung negative 30, pag tumagos sa second quadrant, ano siya? Kasi invalid yung negative 30
150.
kasi fourth quadrant na-gets mo, Micaela. Though tama sa mathematical computational speaking. Pero pag tiningnan mo yung angle, negative yung x, positive yung y, so therefore second quadrant siya. So yung negative 30 mo nandun sa baba eh. Tama? Ito yung no? So pwede mo siyang i-project.
Well,
Okay?
sir, batid po amin yung ano niyo po.
Ah, ito yan, no? Ito yung negative, ito yung 0 eh. Ito yung 0, ito yung negative 30 mo, which is on the fourth quadrant. Tama? Ngayon, ipo-project mo ngayon yan either by projection or reflection. Okay? Anong angle yun?
$150 po.
150. The projection of negative 30 to second quadrant is 150. Which it fits the the complex plane because it has negative x component or negative on the real part, but positive naman on the imaginary part. So it must be 150. Okay? O, di ba mas mahirap pag ginawa ko rectangular muna, guys? So what method will you use? Solving first the product in rectangular and then convert it to polar, or you could convert independently the complex numbers in its polar form correspondingly, and then use the formula, the easy formula. Guys, ayan, oh. Ito lang yung solution natin, eh. O, ito na yung polar form. Inadd mo lang yung angle, multiply mo yung r. Tapos, ito, ayan pa, kung saan-saan pa tayong pumunta. Okay, guys? Make sense?
Yes po, sir.
Ngayon naman, pag kinonvert mo naman tong polar to rectangular, itong kakalabasan yan. Yung ating na-solve dito. So, pareho lang siya. O nga pala, how will you reverse the formula? Sige nga, o nga pala, no? Good question sa sarili ko yun, that I will ask you also. So, given polar form, how will you convert back to rectangular? Ito, balik tayo dito sa mga example natin. Say, part 30 lang. O, given part 30, solve for the rectangular form. Nga, can you devise a formula or a way? Given 30. Wag niyo na muna tingnan yung sagot, yung rectangular form. Pero how will you solve that? Ah, Actually, diyan na papasok yung susunod na form natin, yung trigonometric form. Because the trigonometric form is really a direct expression of the rectangular form in terms of trigonometric function. Okay? Kasi itong polar, guys, more simplified form to ng trigonometric form. Which is, nangyari doon sa daliri natin. Okay? So, ang trigonometric form, Z, ito na, guys. Ito na yung sagot doon sa hinahanap kong solusyon. Cosine theta plus sine theta. Okay, guys? Ito na yung hint ko sa inyo. When you're going back, you would like to convert a polar form to a rectangular form, you should go to the trigonometric form first. The same theta, the part theta there is the cosine theta, and whatever is in the cosine theta, it's also in the sine theta. However, if you will distribute r, that becomes now the x component. So yung r times cosine theta is your a, or your real part. And your r sine theta I, what's that? That's your imaginary. So balik tayo doon. Balik tayo dito. Yung r mo is equal to 1. Tama? How will you solve for the x or the real part component? It's r cosine 30 degrees. Do I make sense, guys?
Yes po.
R,
Yes
what
po.
is 1 times cosine 30 degrees. What's cosine 30 degrees? Square root of 3/2. Ayun, no? Sakto. Kaya ito,
Galing.
o, di ba? Ito, cosine 30 degrees to. Cosine 30 degrees. Given ng polar form, plus yung component niya na, of course, this is also sine 30 degrees. I. Okay? So, then you could solve 1/2. Sine 30 degrees is 1/2 I. Okay? So, for you to convert the polar to rectangular, you need to go first to trigonometric form. Just express it to trigonometric form, then solve what would remain or what would be the result? Rectangular form. Kunyari, part 30 degrees. Express mo sa trigo form yan, cosine 30 plus sine 30 I. And then, isolve mo further, cosine 30 degrees, square root of 3/2, and then sine 30 degrees, 1/2. Okay? Okay, do I make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, how about this one? Ganun din. Yung polar form niya, rectangular form niya naman, ganun din. 2 times cosine 60 degrees, that would be your x component or your a, plus sine 30 degrees I. What's cosine 60? Guys, what's cosine 60? Uy, cosine 60.
Yun po.
Ayan, isa pa, bukod sa quadratic equation, guys, as math major, lahat ng values ng special angle, kabisado nyo dapat. By this time, please. I beg you guys. Kasi yan, malaking factor sa board exam yan. Pag di nyo kabisado yan, no. Katulad yan, kasi 60 is a special eh. 1/2, di ba? Times 2 is 1. Tama yung rectangular form. How about sine 60? Hello? Sine 60. Dapat
Square,
guys, ang
square
sagot
of
dyan
3 of
within 2 to 3 seconds ha. Do I'm forcing nyo. Pero hindi, nasa ano to eh, kailangan nyo guys, kailangan nyo talagang yung pag inisip mo pa lang, within 2 to 3 seconds dapat may sagot ka na pag special angle. Pag special angle pag non-special, walang problema, you could use your calculator. Okay? Square root of 3/2 times 2, square root of 3, ayun no, swak. Swak dun sa rectangular form. Okay? Do we make sense here, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yan. So, dapat medyo ito ganun din. Kung ibabalik natin siya, yan, ano lang natin, express lang natin. Ito, this time, we don't have x or a component. So, ano lang siya, sine 90. And what is sine 90?
5 po.
It's 1. 1 times I or 5I is 5I. Okay? Ganun lang siya. Ito rin, ganun din. This is 4. Actually, pwede ko pa nilagay yung cosine pala dito. Kasi alam lang kasi natin na due to its rectangular form eh. Pero kung wala yung rectangular form, we may not know immediately. Pwede rin naman. Pero ang cosine 90, what's cosine 90 guys? Hop, 1, 2, plak. Uy,
0 po.
yun, 0. Siguro delay lang transmission, no? Minsan nga automatic na yan eh. Guys, ganun yung disiplinahin sarili nyo. Mga math majors tayo eh. Sana gano'n. Ito lang naman, mga basic function, quadratic formula, yung mga basic foundational na pwede nating i-apply even in higher mathematics. Yan ang maipapayo ko sa inyo. If you really like to dig into teaching mathematics, but I suppose you should have a passion not only to teach but also to teach mathematics. Kasi guys, magkaiba yung teaching in general lang kaysa teaching mathematics in particular. But since you're a math major, sakop nung pareho yun. You have a passion to teach ministerially, di ba? But also, you need to have passion for the content itself, teaching the content, not just teaching in general, but teaching mathematics in particular because you are math major on the first place, right? Guys, tama ba? O gusto niyang lumipat ng
Yes
English?
po.
O gusto niyo lumipat ng English language?
Hindi na po.
Hindi na. Huwag na do'n, pambira, konti na nga lang tayo, eh. 'Di ba nga 'pag Edu 115 ko, ano ko, eh, puro English language do'n, eh. Dadalawa lang ni si Jay saka si AJ ang nando'n. Oh, huwag na, dapat ano, kung kailangan ng language, kailangan din ng mathematics. In fact, sa creation pa lang ang dami ng mathematics do'n, eh, 'di ba? We will argue on the origin of man, mathematics na agad 'yun. First day pa lang may math na. Though ang ano naman do'n, fallback sa atin ng mga language major, bakit, engineer? Isinawika ang paglikha, 'yun lang sapul tayo. Oo nga naman, ang paglikha ay isinawika ng Panginoon. So 'yun, language. Pero yung content nun, meron pa ring bilang 'yun. Kasi may concept of time, concept of hour, so it's mathematics. So measurement of time, et cetera. Okey ba guys? Talaga bang hanggang hanggang dulo math major kayo o ano?
Yes po.
Hanggang ano, o 'yan, compact blood compact tayo, 'pag ano, 'pag nagkita-kita tayo sa Bethany. Talagang 'wag niyong don't take it literally, Magalit si Doktor Nabe sa akin. "Uy, ba't kayo nagsandugo diyan?" 'Di ba yung mga katipunero, matapos nilang ang, ano 'no, pagpupunutin ng mga sedula, 'di ba? Sila yung nagsandugo ito sa blood compact to reject the Spanish regime and to go to revolution. But anyway, it's just ano naman guys, commitment lang sa atin. Kaya nga ano, though parallel siya, teaching passion in general and teaching mathematics in particular. Dun tayo maiiba guys, sa mga ibang majorship. Okay, sana nakita niyo. Though, we could contribute to the general knowledge of the teaching profession. We could always contribute. In fact, most of the high placers are math majors, eh. Though we don't nagtataka ako walang masyadong first place na math majors. Second place lang sa LET, pababa. So, yung nagtataka minsan Pilipino, minsan MAPE, may mga gano'ng majors. Bihira, bihira yung tayo yung ano, yung majorship natin ng high ano, yung percentage ng ano, matataas, nasa atin. Kaya pressure sa inyo 'yan guys, dapat pumasa kayo sa LET 'pag, ano, on due time, ha? So, I want to see your names in the newspaper or perhaps the, Facebook, post of PRC at least. Guys, pag-pray niyo 'yan, biyaya ng Panginoon, 'no? Oh, parang delay ba, nanahimik lang?
Yes, sir.
Ano yung yes mo, Dale, nanahimik o delay lang?
Delay lang po.
Delay lang, akala ko nanahimik, eh. Oo nga, delay delay nga lang. Sige. 'Di oo, ganun talaga. Hindi, pero wag kayong ma-pressure sa'kin, isang Subject lang naman. Pinapaalala ko lang sa inyo, guys. Sometimes you need some spark plug to move eh. Ganun lang yun. Pinapa-realize ko lang sa inyo. Coming from a math major teacher also. Diba? Who experienced the same thing as yours. Although I don't enroll in a direct education BS Ed, no? I have additional units for my professional ed. Though my mathematics is almost the same as yours. Meron lang kami mga component na aligned towards engineering profession. Pero the core math is almost the same as yours. And of course, I need teaching the professional courses for me, no? But we shared common ano eh. Talagang may pressure kasi actually mas pressure ako, guys, you know what? Board passer na ako eh. I'm an engineer already. O, 'di ba? It's more pressure than me. Oh, and then I will fail the let a board passer failed the board. What do you think of that news? 'Di ba mas may pressure? Kaya kung may pressure sa inyo, nung time ko, mas may pressure sa akin. Kasi ako professional na eh. That time as an engineer. Anyway, these are just realization, guys. Don't be pressured on the thought. Just a realization. Ha? So, yan lang yun. Okay. So, ito, tuloy natin to. 270. Ay, daliri ko talaga. Ano na, no? So, we know that cosine 270, it has zero component. So, it's a vertical line. So, 0 for cosine, for sine. We know that's negative. So, we'll get negative 4i. Okay? So, the link between polar form and rectangular form is the trigonometric form, guys. Yun yun. The trigo form links between polar and rectangular form. Okay? Then also, of course, in parallel to this is what we call the exponential form. So the exponential form is derived from the polar form. Though, it's now on the radians measurement, not the degrees. Nasaan ba yung ating ano? Makita. Okay. So we have C is R theta. Mali ko tong screen ko ah. Okay. When converted to exponential form, would be something like this. R E raised to J theta. And J now, or I theta, or theta I. Sorry, theta I. This time, your theta now is in radiant measurement. Uy, guys, that's the formula. If you have Say example, if you have 3 power 45 degrees, expressing this to exponential form would be 3. What would be the radian equivalent, guys, of 45 degrees? Radian measurement equivalent. Hello, guys. What's the radian measurement equivalent of 45 degrees?
Sir, pi over 4.
Pi over 4, yes.
Pi over 4, sir.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Pi over. May mga delays talaga tayo, no? Okay lang 'yon. At least, sige, sige. Noted, noted. It's pi over 4. Yun lang, yung pi, nasa na? Dapat nasa special. Isa pang factor, guys, yung mata ko. Medyo, I could see the deterioration. When I reached 40 years old, 2 years ago, ayan, medyo, ano, kaya ano rin, ingatan nyo rin, alalay kayo. Pag reach 40, make sure you already have optimum in ministry before you reach 40. Kasi diyan na magsusulputan yung mga kung sari-sari. Sari-saring sakit, sari-saring mga suliranin pa na hindi mo na-experience for the past 40 years, no? So nasa middle age dilemma. So we call it middle age dilemma when you reach 40 and up. Yan. Ako medyo minsan sumasablay itong ano ko, paningin ko. Though I'm a farsighted guy, hindi talaga ako yung malapitan. Yun lang, pag minsan hindi maiwasang tutukan ng mata ko, eh. Like this one, I need to really to look closer kung tama yung tina-type ko. Yun lang, lalabo siya kasi farsighted ako. Pero pag malayo, malayo, malinaw naman. Okay? Guys, this is the exponential form. 3e raised to pi I over 4 or pi over 4i. That's how we express polar or complex number into exponential form. Okay? Other question?
Sir, kailangan po sa exponential form, radian form po yung angle. Siya
May
pwede
mga,
ba po?
honestly,
I mean,
yes, good
hindi
question.
talaga.
I prefer, this will be my preference. But in other books, they allow degrees, eh. Yun lang, the problem with the degrees, yung pag minanipulate mo na yung angle mismo, mahirapan ka. Kaya kailangan mo siyang i-radiant measurement. Kasi nga, raised to e, natural number tong e, eh. So therefore, hindi pwedeng degree. Ano, in a strictest sense, it cannot be in degree measurement because your base is a natural number. Therefore, the expression needs to be natural also, and degrees are not part of the real number line. It could be only be part of the number line or the number system if it will be expressed in radiant measurement. That's why I would prepare. Now, though some books may display degree measurement even as it is raised from an e or a natural number, no, but in a strictest sense, that should not be the case. It should be in terms of radiant measurement. Okay? So may mga libro, may mga libro na
Okay po.
inaalaw nila 'yon. Medyo loose 'yon. No, pero sa akin, preference ko 'yan. Kasi 'yan ang definition, eh. Okay? So, konti lang naman conversion kapag ano. Okay? Now, sige, tatapusin na natin ngayon 'to, ta's puro lab
Yes,
tayo.
sir. Thank you po.
Yes, thank you. Tatapusin na natin 'tong pagtalakay ng complex ngayon para next week, week 10, puro labs tayo. So, yan. Hindi muna ako nag-ano ng hard topics, guys, kasi alam ko naman medyo na-shock pa kayo sa prelim natin, eh. Medyo it's really medyo tingin ko na medyo ano rin 'yun, eh, mabigat din, eh. Mabigat yung prelim natin. No, kaya midterm is I I would like to make it more lighter to you. That's why I focus on labs and some topics that are related. In this case, complex numbers. Insert natin siya. Though it's not the original part of the course outline. No, ganyan sa college, guys, no? We could be flexible. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, normally a course outline will be as good as 70 to 80% of its entirety. So the 30 to 20 to 30% will be covered by the students reading. So that will be taught. So that's in the college. So I sense that you need to have this complex knowledge on complex numbers. That's why I could elaborate for 1 or 2 weeks for this. No? So that's the reason. Okay, so for rectangular, guys, we could it's suggested for you to add or subtract using rectangular form. Okay? You could add or subtract using rectangular form. It's hard to add or subtract polar form directly. In most cases, it's difficult, very difficult. So it is suggested, for instance, if you have okay, plus, halimbawa, plus, halimbawa, 90. Halimbawa, you have two complex number in polar form to be added. So guys, it's recommended for you to convert this to rectangular form. Now, there is no direct formula from polar form that you could use to solve the sum of the two complex numbers. What you're gonna do is to convert this first to rectangular form. Okay? So, yan yung ano natin dyan. Okay, quick answer, guys. What's the answer? Can you solve this mentally? Ayan ka na naman, sir, ah. Kayang-kaya to. Hinugot ko lang naman to sa previous na ano, eh. Oh, mentally, what's the answer? Negative 4i. Tama ba? Kasi 4 power 270, negative. Tama? Ito yung kanina, eh. Tama ba, guys?
Yes, sir, yung sa taas po yata.
Oh, yes. Noted. Oh. And then ito, 5i lang to, eh. Oh, 90 degrees. Nakatayo. Si I. Di 5i. Di ba? Kasi guys, kaya malakas loob ko, quadrantal angle to, eh. 270 is quadrantal angle, lies between third and fourth quadrant. 90 degrees is also obviously a quadrantal angle that lies on the first and the second quadrant. So you could easily solve this, no? Magkakatalo lang yan dun sa sign. Of course, 270 has negative, 90 degrees has positive. And then what's the result, guys? Answer please. For negative 4i plus 5i is what?
Ay na lang po.
I na lang. Eh, what's the polar form? Balik tayo ngayon sa polar form.
Ay, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that answer. And then you go back. If the requirement is the polar equivalent, you convert back to polar. What's the polar of I? Guys, what's the polar form of I? O yan, 1, 2.
Par 45.
Par I. I yan, no? I. O Micaela, anong angle ang I?
Ay, 90. Parang
90. Parang 90 yan eh. Ayun. So, you know the technique guys. I'm telling you this, no, para at least, so, mas madaling, wala kasing direct for polar eh, or adding polars. So, you need to convert it back to rectangular, and then sum it up, and then back to polar. Okay, that's how you add uh, polar form. Okay? So, but for multiplication, it should be polar. Be polar. What else? Okay. Sige. Tuloy tayo. We still have few minutes, no? Tom Jones na ba kayo, guys? Just be honest.
May sir, medyo.
Medyo. Ayan. Ako, guys, wala pa akong breakfast. Kasi nga wala yung misis ko eh. Walang tagaluto. Walang nagluluto. Ilang araw na. Yung aso lang kasama ko dito. Mahirap, guys, no? Parang ito yata yung matagal na, siguro kung na mamaya mapapanood ni misis tong broadcast. Ito na siguro yung pinakamahabang
hindi
hindi
po
ko nakita
makakarinig,
si
sir.
misis eh. Buti pa nung nanliligaw pa lang ako, buwan-buwan ako nandun sa Quezon. Eh. Talagang pupunta ako doon. Nagba-bus ride ako. Okay pa yun kasi hindi pa naman kami mag-asawa. Pero iba na pag ano eh. So ano sila? Parang ano na ngayon. Tuesday ngayon, no? So it had been 8 or yeah. So 9th day na ngayon. Wala nung so hopefully they come back this Thursday, sabi daw. Sana nga bumalik. Mahirap talaga ang ano. Ay, di ko sure Micaela yung situation. Pero siguro ganun din yung pag na pag nawalay ka sa iyong husband for quite some time, future husband, may ganun din pakiramdam. Mutual yung feeling na yan eh. Kasi nga mag-asawa na kayo eh. Yan si Mrs. Hindi niya lang pinapadamayan. Saka hindi obvious kasi nandun yung mga mahal niya sa buhay. Yung mga in-laws ko nandun. Eh ako wala eh. Yung mother ko nasa Montalban, Rodriguez Rizal. My sisters we have respective homes na. Hindi ko naman din mapuntahan. No, so walang masyadong problema kay Mrs. Ako may problema dito. So, but siguro mas okay ang hindi ko alam how ladies are handling ano eh, temporary separation eh. I don't know. For both of you guys, Micaela and ano, Hazel. Hindi ko alam paano yung na-handle. Ako medyo wala. Yung diet ko wala. Pag ano, lunch lang ako bibili ng ano diyan, sandwich, gano'n. I've been on a diet for 9 days already, sandwich. Except for church. So, are providing sumptuous meal for us. Yan, puro ano ko, pasta, gano'n. Bibili akong pasta. Maghapon na 'yon, tapos puro buko juice. Very irregular ang aking yan ang dilemma. But anyway, hopefully this will normalize sooner or later. Kaya yung gutom mo daily, wala yan. Ako, hindi lang gutom eh. Talagang yung nagluluto kasi wala dito kaya ano eh. Yun ang medyo maano sa akin eh. Oh, yes, correct. Konting araw naman. Actually guys, I could handle. I really could handle. I've been independent for quite some long. Since binata pa ako. Pero iba rin yung kasi na-attach na ako dun sa kasama ko dito, anak ko, asawa ko. So, 'pag walang physical ano kasi, connection, may ibang ano rin, may ibang dating, eh. Hindi siya normal. I think, I've been within this, not the abnormal thing or but the not so normal, days. Yan ang sinasabi. Hindi naman masyadong abnormal, 'no, hindi naman siguro abnormal, pero very unusual, very unusual, ayan. So, although I could handle naman, 'no, it will not result to anything psychological naman sa'kin. Yun lang, ayun. Saka isa pa, I don't have kitchen skills, how will I cook? Or medyo tamad din akong lumabas because of the pandemic. So, everything are delivered through Grab or Foodpanda. So, gano'n yung nangyayari. Kaya 'tong si Luna medyo matamlay, hindi kasi hindi ko rin mapakain ng tama, puro dog food ang kanyang kinakain. Samantalang 'pag si misis dito, kanin 'yan, may haluan 'yan ng kanin, 'yan. So, gano'n talaga, that's life. Yan, okey na lang, konti na lang, mga guys, 'no, ilang minuto na lang 'to. Ipapakita ko sa inyo yung Eulers, napakaganda ng Eulers formula, 'no, by Johannes Eulers. Okey, so ano pa ba yung operations natin? So, polar form, trigonometric form, as well as exponential form could be easily be multiplied or divide. Ngayon kanina nakita natin yung, division, wala pa akong example, 'no. For instance, consider this. Dito ko rin kukunin siguro para just for the purpose of example. Kaya halimbawa yung Z sub 1 mo, um, 4 par 270, and then Z sub 2, okay, how will you divide this? You just, refer to the opposite operation on how we multiply this. Okay, instead of multiplying, you divide. 4/5. 4/5. Puwede ng 0.8, 'no, or 4/5. Okay, par. What's par?
Yes po.
0.8 or 4/5, o puwede na rin yung 4/5, but for my sake, I will write 0.8 here. So this one, instead of adding in terms of multiplication, you subtract when dividing polar form. Yan. Yan yung makikita natin diyan. So this becomes 0.8 par what? 180. Okay, guys, that's how we divide complex form or numbers. It should be in polar form first. It could be easily divided in polar form. Okay? Rather than dividing this in rectangular form. Mahirap mahirap 'yan. 'Di ba nung nakaraan, 'no, I think I give an example on conjugates. 'Di ba, guys? We get the conjugate of the denominator.
Yes, sir.
We have an example. Though I think I have not uploaded the notes, right, guys? Pasensya na, 'no? Did I upload the video already for the week 7? Not yet. For week 8? Not yet. Wala pa ba?
Session lang po, sir, pero wala po yung notes
Wala pa yung
po.
notes? Okay, okay. Yung recorded session lang. Yung nga, yung mga kasi 'tong laptop natin may mga glitches, eh, kaya hindi agad ako saka si YouTube medyo ang hirap ngayon mag-upload ng files dun. Masyadong masyadong ano, may mga restrictions. So, okay. Now, another is to exponentiate or power. Okay. Halimbawa, dito tayo kumuha. What if I would like to raise a power, say, of a real power? Say, I would like to exponentiate, say, power raised to n. So what will its implication for our polar and polar and exponential form? What do you think would be its effect to your r, guys? When your complex number in rectangular is raised to n, what is the implication to r? Any idea? When your complex number is raised to n, what will be the implication to r in the polar form? Okay. Well, it's more general. It will be raised to n also. Pag square yung z squared, ibig sabihin magiging square din 'to. Pero tama 'yun, tama 'yun. But in general, it should be raised to n as well. Okay? So we will do that. And what will be the implication now to the theta? That's the next point. Ano implication sa theta? Will that be theta squared or theta raised to n? What do you think, guys?
Yes, sir.
Uh, Actually, it's a little different. You just multiply. Okay? You'll just multiply. Same as true with this. For the exponentation, uh, in like manner with your exponential form, no? Okay, this will be raised to n also. And this one, you will insert n at the middle. Okay, that will be the result for, say, an example here. Say 5 par 30 degrees. What if I raise this to squared? Something like that. Okay. So what will be the answer based on the formula? This would be 25 par. Andali lang, guys, I need to answer this call. O guys, okay pa kayo dyan? Okay pa ba? So, anong implication sa 30?
Yes.
Anong magiging niyan? Par ano to? Back to our problem.
Magiging 50 po.
Par 60. Kasi 2 times 30 lang. So, ganun lang siya.
Kasi pala.
Okay, so pagdating naman sa exponential, that this becomes same, 25 e raised to, yung theta, convert this to radiant measurement. What's the radiant measurement?
Pi over 3 po.
Pi over 3. Ano nangyari? Yun. Mali yung ginawa ko. Okay. Ito, dapat maging pi I over 3 na lang. Pi I. No, kasi na yung theta times n, yun na yung 60 eh. So, 30 times 2. So, 60, yan na yung magiging theta n, supposedly. So, yan ang magiging itsura niya guys for yan ang magiging itsura niya for uh, exponential form. Now, I will show to you the Eulers guys. No? Yung Euler's formula. Baka may online seat work tayo by next week before I start our lab regarding this. No? So, you need to, siguro, recall nyo lang. Uh, so, ang isa pa guys, magagamit natin yung pag kinuha natin yung logarithm of complex, we will use exponential form. Yung logarithm of complex number. So, kasi meron na siyang ln, no? Tingnan mo, pag linon mo yan, yung ln of z is equal to ln of r e raised to I. Okay, following the laws of logarithm, guys, what is the answer here? Ln AB to eh. Ln AB is equal to ln A plus ln B. Tama? Magiging ln R, the real component, plus ln or ln, as you may call it, ln e raised to AI. But what is ln of e raised to theta I, rather, ei tuloy? What's the answer? It will cancel, guys, because ln and e as the power would cancel. So what remained there is ln of r, which is the real component, plus theta I. So, kaya dapat guys, radiant measurement talaga to eh. So, kasi nga, this should be radiant measurement. Ayaw niyang ganun ah. Okay. Do I make sense, guys? So, for logarithm of complex, you may use exponential form. Okay? Exponential form siya. So, magiging ln
Sir, question
r.
po.
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, ano po? Di ba po ang ln E is equal to
Ln e is
1?
equal to
Tama po
1.
ba, sir?
Yes. Eh, kaya lang may exponent. So, bababa yung theta i. Parang yung derivative, di ba?
Ay, bababa lang.
Oh, bumaba yung ei. Yung theta i times 1, theta i pa rin. Because ln of e is equal to 1. Parang yung derivative, di ba? If you may recall, binababa muna natin yung exponent. Though hindi natin sinusubtract yung remaining exponent. Sa logarithm, ibababa mo lang siya. Okay? May question? So, hindi na ako makapagbigay ng halimbawa nito. No? Punta na ako dun sa, sa ating, yung Euler's formula. Ito guys, ito yung maganda dito kay Euler's. Nakapag-devise siya ng, pwede nyo i-google to if you want. Nakapag-devise siya ng napakagandang formula, mathematical formula, wherein most of the basic components of math are residing on that formula. So, yun yung makikita natin doon. Papakita ko sa inyo guys. When I equate the trigo form with the exponential form. Okay? So, if I may write it here, cosine x na lang gamitin ko kasi masyadong ano eh. Kunyari x na lang guys. Nahirapan ako dun sa theta eh. Ayan, is equal to, so itanggalin na natin yung r. Now we cancel both r on both sides. So wala na siyang r. So e raised to um, theta I siya. In fact, there is beauty in mathematics guys eh. Kaya beauty and math coincide. No? So there are many applications of mathematics even in artistic uh, jobs or artistic creation. By in terms of patterns, in color variation, utilizing shapes, no, 3D dimensioning, marami. Ang mathematics ngayon sa art ay ano na eh, hindi siya talaga magkaaway, no? Talagang nagja-jive siya. No? Even as we see some of the yun, nalulubat na ako ah. Mahina na ba guys yung audio ko?
Hindi naman po.
Ayan, dito na yung theta ko x na lang guys ha for ano. Okay, ganito. Okay, this is the initial formula. What if okay, what if at I would like to solve at x is equal to 180 degrees or pi. Let's substitute. Okay, what's the equivalent for pi? Nilagay ko na nga pala, no? So ito, pi to. Ay, nawala yung ay. Okay. Can you solve cosine 180 is what, guys? Last na to, guys. Then we'll close na. What is cosine 180? Oh, special ano yan? Quadrantal to.
Negative 1.
Negative 1 po.
Correct, negative 1. Tingnan niyo yung ganda nito, ah. Sine 180.
0 po.
Yan, 0. Tatanggalin natin. Pansinin niyo tong element na to. Ngayon, si Eulers, inequate niya. Binalik niya doon sa ginawa niyang positive to. So, may iwan dyan, 0. Pwede niyong ano to, you could search this to Google, the Euler's formula. So, this one, 0. Ito, magiging plus 1 to. Okay, that's what we call the Euler's formula. Wherein the fundamental numbers, essential numbers in mathematics are all present. There is 0, the Euler number, the pi, the imaginary, and number 1, which is very essential. Ay, na-off-cam ako, guys, no? Off-cam ako? Or I still my audio? Off-cam lang?
Ano lang, sir. Wala po kayo sa video. Nakikita lang po namin yung mute niyo po.
Actually, nag-off yung cam ko. Kaya hindi mo, kala nyo magic, no? Nagsasalita, wala si sir dun sa, ano niya, camera. Ano yun?
Clutter na.
Eto, guys, ito yung Euler's formula. All of the essentials in mathematics are here. 0, the Euler's number, the pi, the imaginary, and 1. All of these are essential in fundamentals of mathematics, even in higher mathematics, calculus. Yan yung Euler's number. Okay? So, yan yun. Yan yung papakita ko sa inyo na it's a magic, it's a beauty in itself because all these essential elements of math are in one formula. And we call it Euler's formula. Okay? So, lahat nandyan. Walang ibang nakaisip niya kundi siya, eh. Paano na pagsama-sama 'tong tatlong elemento na ito in single formula. Actually, it has a higher mathematics application which we may not cover. Perhaps in calculus, we'll cover this. Okay, so initially by next week, you will have an online test, online seat work regarding this. So try to review your complex. It will just, we will have it for say 30 minutes only. Then afterwards, we'll go on with our laboratory of linear analysis. This time I'll be making, if you're 4 complete, I will be using the ducks. Alam yata ni Dale yan, eh. Ay, pinakita ko rin yata sa inyo, no? Did I show it to you? This tracing ducks?
Yes po.
Okay, so yung magaganon tayo. Siguro mga 30 seconds lang.
Yes po, sir.
Yes, 30 seconds lang. Then you will answer some lab problem I will assign to you. So you need to read the lab problem read all of the complex analysis, the linear, even chapter 2. You start reading chapter 2 of the lab. To be specific, so for lab 1, we only have 1.1 and 1.2. You should start reading kasi pag nasa lab na tayo guys, mabilis na 'yan. Siguro yung hanggang lab 2, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3 of your lab. Itong matrix operation, medyo mabilis na 'to. If we have time, we will have lab 3 also. So mabilis yung lab natin, okay? And then I'll be making use of the docs for you to answer. Okay, clarification?
Sir, gagamitin po yung octave.
Oh yes, we will use Octave next week for our laboratory. But for hindi muna sa ito more on ano lang 'to, ito yung mga napag-aralan natin sa complex. Wala pa tayong Octave uli. So magre-resume pa lang by next week. So after our 30-minute online test, so ito, then I will follow through with the lab together with the complex, how to deal with some of the complex numbers. Okay? Well, it's just a short multiple choice
Yes po.
items lang naman. Kayang-kaya nyo. I prepare multiple choice items also. Okay? And then siguro briefly, you guys search on teka nga. Ayun lang guys. Okay. Sige, lastly na 'to guys. Pasensya na 'no. I need to show this to you. Meron din kasing aspect of hyperbolic 'to eh. So, yung not hyperbolic but on the equation that we have. Balik lang ako dito. Last na 'to guys. Nawala yung ano. Kasi from here, we could derive also the trigonometric form. Sige, ito na nga lang. We could manipulate this guys. Ito, huli na 'to. What if I would insert here a negative number? Negative x. Okay. I transpose from positive x to negative x. So, what would be the implication of a negative x in cosine, guys? Kunyari, angle cosine x, yung x component niya, kapag negative. Ibig sabihin, pag negative ang angle, towards the fourth quadrant yung guys. Ang implication niya. If this is positive, can you see my ball pen? This is positive x. Nakikita nyo ba guys? Positive x yan. Ang negative x, ganun.
Yes, sir.
Ang negative x, pababa. Positive x, pataas. Negative x, pababa. Ang tanong, pag sa cosine ba, nagbago yung sign? O pareho lang? Kunyari, ito positive x. nag-negative x ka. Ayun, sa baba, fourth quadrant. Ang tanong, same value ba yung x? Yes or no? Ulit, ito yung positive angle. Positive angle, guys. Positive x. Ginawa ko negative x. So, fourth quadrant. Ayan, oh. So, positive, negative. Positive, hindi lang makita yun, no? Sorry. Then, negative. Hindi makita yung angle. Ayan. Positive, negative. Ang tanong, how about what happened to the x? When you take the cosine. Dalawa lang ang sagot dyan, guys. Either it's upon a negative of the x or the same. How you choose, guys? Is it the same? Is cosine x equal to cosine of negative x? Is it true? Are they the same? Or it should be negative of cosine x?
Yes po.
Dalawang choice natin dyan.
Equal po sila.
Yes, equal to. Pag cosine, equal to. Pag nagbago yung, halimbawa, mula first quadrant, x, nag-fourth quadrant ka, pareho lang, oh. Tingnan nyo, oh. Hindi nag-iba yung x component, guys, oh. Ano nag-iba? Yung vertical component ng angle. Mula dito sa positive, naging negative dun sa fourth quadrant. So, ang apektado dyan, itong sin of x. Yung sin of x natin, supposedly negative sin of x would be equal to sin of negative x. Yan. Tatandaan natin, guys, ha. For cosine, it won't change. It won't mind. You don't mind if it's fourth or the first quadrant. Parehong x component yan. But for sine, it will have an inverse impact. Kung dito positive siya sa quadrant, positive siya dito sa first quadrant, magiging obviously negative siya sa fourth quadrant. Positive sa first, negative sa fourth quadrant. Okay, make sense? Guys, review din to ng trigo nyo. So, yan yung mga essential. No? So, therefore, pwede ko siyang isubtract. Guys, pwede ko siyang isubtract. At the same time, pwede kong i-recalibrate to. The second equation could be recalibrated. Kasi equal yung cosine x sa negative x. So, okay lang siya na positive pa rin yun. Eto naman, mag-i-introduce ako ng negative sign doon. So, balik ka sa positive. Ngayon, ang point natin dito, magkaroon tayo ng comparison on the positive angle and negative angle implications so that we could solve for the cosine of x and sine of x in terms of the Euler's number. Okay? So, for this case, so pwede na ako mag-subtract or mag-add. Pag gusto ko mag-subtract, matatanggal ano matatanggal, guys? If I would like to subtract, matatanggal ang cosine component. Tama ba? Hello, guys. Okay, sorry for that. Sound check. So, pwede mong subtract yung cosine. Ang matitira, Ito. So, pag sinubtract mo, magiging 2. Ako, naghang pa. Wait lang guys, ha. Oh guys, hello, can you hear me? Hello? Okay. Guys, can you hear me? May problema yung mic ko, ah. Okay, sound check. Can you hear me, guys? Can you reply?
Ano po, sir?
Okay. Nagproblema tong mic ko.
Yes po.
Yes po, sir. Yes po. Thank you.
Um, sir, ano po, magpi-PM po ako sa inyo. May sabihin po ako sa inyo. Opo. Okay po. Opo. Okay po. Bye po.
Thank you, sir.
Bye po.